Hello everyone, you are watching Average Joe Video, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a leaking Moen single handle faucet. Now this particular faucet is actually not leaking from the spout portion. Instead, it turns out that there is a slight leak from underneath the handle, and there's a lot of videos out there about this. But essentially the issue is with the cartridge in there, and not only is it leaking from the handle, but the handle is stripped out to the point where I can't even tighten it. If you look here, this entire handle can come off just like that. Obviously that's an issue. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on this. I will say that you wanna get genuine Moen parts if you're gonna make this kind of repair. Trust me, you'll save yourself a lot of frustration. So in order to get started, we're going to go ahead and turn off the water supply. But before I do that, I am going to go ahead and disable the MotionSense portion of the faucet. So I can do that by simply holding my hand over this top sensor until the water turns off. And now I have disabled the MotionSense portion of the faucet. So it's just temporarily disabled. If you take a look now, it's not going to turn on, okay? And I'm doing that because what I don't want to do is I don't want to activate the MotionSense portion of the faucet even with the water off. So I just want to eliminate that part of the entire process. Okay, next it is time to turn off both the hot water and cold water supply. Now, you're going to notice I have a black and red braided line there. That's actually the hot water supply for my dishwasher. I'm not going to worry about turning that off, but I am going to turn off the valve that is behind that. So this valve back here, going to turn that one off. Okay, then I'm going to turn off the cold water supply as well. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and open up the faucet just to make sure the water is in fact off. We can see that no water's coming out, so we're good with that. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need for this repair is a Moen 1255 cartridge. Now, the great folks at Moen will send you these items for free as long as you are the original purchaser of the faucet, which we are. In this particular case, this particular faucet is 11 years old. So this is the first time I've had to do any work on it whatsoever. So at 11 years old, that's not too bad. Now, because of the handle issue that I'm experiencing, Moen has also sent me the dome kit, which is what's in this box. And again, that's in the oil rub bronze, so that's gonna match perfectly. And then lastly, Moen has also sent me a brand new handle as well. Okay, you're also going to need a 13/16 wrench or a pair of channel lock pliers. You do need to be aware that you're going to have to remove a little dust cover, as I call it, a dust cap. So there is a little cap that sits inside of this hole on the bottom of the handle. Now, the Allen nut is already inside of this. You don't have to remove it the whole way. It's essentially just clamping this handle onto the cartridge portion. Since mine fell off, again, I can't even tighten mine because it's completely stripped out, which is why it's falling off. But Moen will send you all of this for free if you're having those issues. So just be aware of it. You may have to loosen the spout of the faucet in order to gain access to this. But the Allen key, the wrench itself, is included in the cartridge kit. Okay, before I loosen the cartridge nut, I am going to put a small container under there in hopes of catching the water. You may want to even have a rag nearby because you're going to get a little bit of water out of there once you loosen the cartridge. So this is where I'm going to use my 13/16. But first, I've got to get this outer part off, which it's just going to unscrew like so. Okay, so that just threads out of there. And then I can go ahead and loosen the cartridge. Still pretty tight there. It's tighter than it looks, but it's not too bad. So we're going to remove the cartridge nut. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and remove the cartridge. So you can just pull the cartridge right out of there, like so. Actually didn't get very much water, which is good. Okay, now before we actually put the new cartridge in, we're going to do another step that is recommended by Moen, but this is obviously much, much easier if you have someone to give you a hand with this. So I'm actually gonna have my wife hold this Tupperware container in front of the faucet. And the next step is to flush both the hot and cold. Now you don't need to give it a lot of pressure, but it's a good idea just to flush the lines out, because the last thing you want is for debris to be in the line. You put a new cartridge in, and then when you turn the water back on, you've now lodged that debris into the new cartridge, and then you experience issues once again. So we're gonna go ahead and we're going to flush the line and just make sure on both the hot and cold side that everything is completely clean. Then we're gonna go ahead and put the cartridge back in and get everything put back together. Okay, cold side first. We're just gonna flush that for a few seconds here. You don't need a lot of pressure. Okay, hot side is next. Again, just a few seconds here. You don't need a whole lot of pressure. Okay, if you're curious, before I put the new cartridge in, you can see here is the old cartridge. So a little bit of staining from the water. Now, obviously, you can't really tell if something inside of it's defective. But again, I have the new cartridge, so we're going to put that in. And here you have the new one. Look how bright white that is compared to the previous one. The other thing you need to be aware of is that you can only put this cartridge in one way. So it's impossible to put the cartridge in incorrectly, and here's why. There are actually 3 different grooves on this. Now, these grooves line up on the faucet body itself, but because the distance between these two channels, or whatever you'd like to call them, is shorter than over here, this can only really fit in one way. If you try to put it in a different way, then the grooves aren't going to match up with the faucet body. So let's go ahead and get this in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and insert the cartridge. Now, as I mentioned, it's only going to go in one way. What you want to do is line up the groove, which here it is, and it goes right in without a problem. So if you have to force it in, then you know that you're doing something wrong. Okay, next we have to put in the cartridge retaining nut. They tell you to install that until it's snug. Again, you don't have to have the wrench. You could use a pair of pliers. Once you get it snug, you're supposed to turn it an additional 90 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to thread that in, okay, and get that to the point where it is snug, like so. I can't turn that any further. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my 13/16 wrench, and I'm going to turn that an additional 90 degrees. And there it is. And you don't want to overdo it. I can feel it tightening up immediately. Remember, it is a plastic retaining nut. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do then is install the new dome piece. Look at that. Matches perfectly. That's what I love about Moen. The kit is going to come with a new Allen screw and the appropriate Allen wrench, which is 3/32, I believe. And I want to show you a comparison of the two handles here. So here you can see on the old handle, there is a lot of grease in there. You can just see that it's worn down. Okay, so here is the Allen screw. I'm not sure if you can see, but on one side of the Allen screw, it's just actually just a blunt end. You don't have a way to put your wrench into that side, so you really can only install this one way. You don't have to worry about mixing that up. So we're going to take the new handle and we're going to insert that in and just thread it in. Okay, now you don't have to thread it in. You don't want to thread it in the whole way, but if you look inside here, if you can see that, if I thread it in too far, then I'm not going to be able to get it to go on the faucet. So I just want it to be in enough that it's going to stay and that I can slide this handle onto the faucet and then tighten it. And that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and slide the handle on. Okay, and I already turned the entire faucet because it's a bit loose, and I'm going to take care of that here in just a moment and retighten the nut underneath. But I'm going to go ahead then and take the Allen wrench, place it into there, and I can already feel that it has made contact, and I'm going to go ahead and make this snug. Again, you don't want to strip it out, but you want it to be snug enough. There it is, and as you can see, that's not coming off. Okay, test the motion of it. Feels completely different than the other one just because of the new cartridge and now the slack in the handle being removed. Okay, now that it's snug, we're going to go ahead and snap in the dust cover or whatever we'd like to call that. I'm not really sure of the proper term, but that snaps in like so. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn the water back on, and we're going to give this a try. Look at that, no leaks and no drips. So now we're ready to go ahead and turn the MotionSense part of the faucet back on. Once again, you can do that by simply holding your hand over the sensor. And it's back turned on again. So that's all there is to it. If you haven't already, please give this video a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more helpful videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.